Welcome, friends. I'm Walt Gray. There are growing questions about why the U.S. decided to strike Iran as the war now escalates across the region. Iran is targeting U.S. bases and embassies in its retaliatory efforts, and Trump administration officials say more American forces will be heading to the region, warning the hardest hits are yet to come. From Washington, ABC's Christiane Cordero.
Today, smoke rises above several cities in the Middle East as the U.S. and Israel continue their offense against Iran's regime and its proxies. The American death toll is rising. The Pentagon says 6 U.S. service members have so far been killed in Iran's retaliation. Administration officials have repeatedly warned more American lives may be lost.
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first.
The Trump administration has offered mixed messaging in the 4 days since the war started, first saying there was an imminent threat against the U.S. Then last night, Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested it was Israel who perceived a threat from Iran and decided to strike its regime with or without the U.S.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces.
Democrats and several prominent Republicans aren't convinced.
It's pretty clear that we're not going to gain anything more. And how do we know that? Because no one has explained what we're there to gain.
The scale of the strikes has led to chaos for civilians across the region. This commercial airplane is seen taking off from Beirut, disappearing into the smoke as it billows over the city's skyline. The passengers on board are among the relative few who can get out. Shekinah Lee from Chicago is stuck in Dubai, where she was on vacation when the strikes began.
I'm just overwhelmed. I'm anxious, I'm scared, and I'm desperate to get home.
The State Department has urged Americans in the Middle East to get out now. But given the airspace is closed over several countries, the reality is there are very few options. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee pointed to one of the options, a bus that goes from Israel to Egypt and then catching flights from there. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
And that said, the State Department is now preparing military and charter flights for Americans who want to leave the Middle East. In the meantime, the conflict is driving oil and natural gas prices higher. Brent crude, that's the international oil benchmark, jumped about 6% overnight. U.S. oil prices are about the same. About 20% of the world's oil supply moves through that narrow waterway next to Iran. It is the Strait of Hormuz. Now some shipping companies are reassessing their routes because of safety concerns. Ultimately, the concern is that this could lead to an increase in gas prices, and we'll be tracking that, of course, for you. With oil prices surging, local drivers are bracing for high prices at the pump. The national average, $3.10 a gallon. That's up from $2.99. That's the biggest one-day price jump since Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005. In California, our state, of course, some of the highest prices in the country. The statewide average going up 2 cents since yesterday, now at $4.67 per gallon. Okay, the uncertainty in the Middle East, how is that affecting the Dow Jones? Obviously down a substantial amount today, over 350 points, well below the 50,000 record-setting mark of about 2 weeks ago. And a live look now over the U.S. Capitol, where Congressman Ro Khanna from California is rallying support for a bipartisan war powers resolution that would require the president to seek congressional approval before any further military action in Iran. The measure would need a 2/3 majority in both chambers to override a likely presidential veto. Lawmakers in the House and Senate are expected to take it up later this week. And with all this conflict, the death toll in the region likely will rise. According to the Iranian Red Crescent Society, over 700 people have already died in Iran. 11 countries are now involved in this conflict. You can see them highlighted on this particular map. New at 11, sources say the FBI fired a dozen agents and staffers who were monitoring threats from Iran days before the U.S. attacked that country. They worked for a counterintelligence unit known as CI-12. The unit tracks things like foreign spies, but also oversees cases involving mishandled classified documents. According to CNN sources, FBI Director Kash Patel fired the workers because they previously investigated the president's alleged mishandling of such documents. They also say several other senior officials have been ousted or reassigned due to their involvement in Trump-related investigations. The DOJ and FBI have not commented on the firings. Thousands taking to the streets to protest the war in Iran. Some scenes from San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, and New York City. A similar scene playing out in Sacramento, where dozens of people showed up to this particular protest. This is around the Tower Theater off of Broadway. Many telling us they don't see this situation ending well for anyone.
I'm half Iranian, and we were really horrified to see the recent attacks on Iran. My family always believes that change has to come from within.
I think that the U.S. military involvement, and this is from somebody that actually served in the military, is not appropriate at this time.
A new CNN poll found about 6 in 10 Americans are not on board with the war in Iran. Since the attacks began Saturday, 6 U.S. service members have been killed and over a dozen more have been seriously wounded. The president says operations could last 4 to 5 weeks, but says he's prepared to go far longer than that if necessary. We'll, of course, continue our coverage on the war in Iran and the protests here at home. Stay updated on the latest with our free ABC 10 streaming app.